At 23:17 hours on September 28, 2025, a U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon detected something unusual in the Sea of Japan, 140 nautical miles off the North Korean coast. Sonar operators picked up a diesel-electric submarine, but the acoustic signature didn't match any known movement. The sub wasn't moving, its propulsion systems were erratic, and it was sending emergency signals on North Korean Navy frequencies. Within 30 minutes, intelligence confirmed the worst. A Simpo-class ballistic missile submarine, one of only two in the North Korean fleet, was dead in the water, and almost certainly carrying a nuclear-armed Pukong-3 missile. For the United States, letting it drift was not an option. Authorization came down through the President, the Joint Chiefs, and Naval Special Warfare Command. Board the sub, secure the missile, and extract both vessel and weapon before North Korea could react. Rules of engagement were clear: neutralize all resistance. Timeline: 6 hours until dawn. 8 SEALs, 45 enemy sailors, and a ticking nuclear threat. This was Operation Dark Water. The North Korean Simpo-class submarine was no ordinary vessel. At 220 feet long with a crew of 45, it was designed to carry ballistic missiles, a strategic deterrent capable of striking across Asia and potentially Alaska or Hawaii. Primitive by Western standards, it relied on 1970s Soviet technology, but functionally, it was deadly. And inside, almost certainly, rested a nuclear-armed Pukong-3 missile, a weapon with a 1,200-mile range and a 100-kiloton warhead. Allowing the submarine to drift uncontrolled wasn't just dangerous, it was unacceptable. If the vessel returned to North Korean hands, the nuclear threat would remain, intelligence lost, and regional security jeopardized. Every second the sub floated aimlessly was a second closer to disaster. The clock was ticking, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. The boarding team came from SEAL Team 5, based in Coronado, California, currently deployed aboard the USS Michael Mansour in the Sea of Japan. Leading them was Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, 36, a veteran of 14 years in naval special warfare with 3 prior Pacific deployments. His 7 teammates were highly trained operators, experts in submarine operations, close-quarters combat, and handling weapons of mass destruction, but none had ever boarded a hostile submarine at sea. The stakes were extraordinary: confined spaces, limited entry points, a crew willing to scuttle the boat, and a nuclear weapon on board created a perfect storm of danger. Even one misstep could trigger disaster. The closest historical comparison was the 1987 seizure of an Iranian mine-laying vessel, but that was a surface ship. This mission demanded precision, courage, and split-second decisions in a pressurized, unpredictable environment. Every SEAL knew the risks. Every step mattered. Failure wasn't an option. At 0150, the 8 SEALs loaded into 2 rigid-hull inflatable boats and cut loose from the destroyer. The ocean was honest: 3-foot swells, a 15-knot wind, but the air and water were painfully cold. They ran dark, no lights, guided by GPS and thermal feeds from the P-8 overhead. Every splash, every silhouette mattered. 22 minutes later, the sub loomed up 12 miles from the Michael Mansour. It sat on the surface, lights out, conning tower black against the night. Thermal imaging showed movement inside, heat signatures shifting behind bulkheads. The hull rolled in the swell, slow but alive. There was no obvious sign of surrender. 4 SEALs moved up onto the deck, while 4 stayed on the RHIBs to cover the perimeter. Equipment was heavy and precise: dry suits, breaching gear, suppressed rifles, flashbangs. One wrong choice on a hatch or a charge, and the whole plan unraveled. Morrison's call was simple and absolute: speed, shock, and control. Get the control room first. Stop a scuttle. Secure the missile. They hooked grapples to the tower and climbed into the teeth of the night. The moment of contact ended the quiet. What came next would decide everything. The SEALs reached the conning tower. Senior Chief Petty Officer David Park placed a small-shaped charge on the hatch lock, designed to cut it clean without harming anyone below. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The lock gave way with a sharp crack. Morrison threw in a flashbang, and the compartment exploded in blinding light and a deafening bang. They stacked into the control room with practiced precision. Morrison led, followed by Park, Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb, and Petty Officer First Class Sarah Chen. Inside, chaos awaited. 3 North Korean sailors stumbled, temporarily blinded and deafened. 2 were unarmed. 1 reached for a pistol. Morrison shouted in Korean, stopping him. 1 hesitation. 1 burst from Park's suppressed rifle. The threat neutralized. The other 2 sailors surrendered instantly, cuffed and controlled. The control room was secure, but the submarine was far from cleared. 42 enemy sailors remained, moving through the maze-like interior. Every hatch beyond this point could conceal armed resistance. Every decision could trigger disaster. And the SEALs hadn't even reached the missile yet. The SEALs moved compartment by compartment, each hatch a potential ambush. Forward crew quarters held 18 North Korean sailors, mostly young and frightened. They surrendered without a fight. But the engine room aft told a different story. 5 armed sailors barricaded themselves and opened fire the instant the hatch was breached. Bullets ricocheted off metal bulkheads, close enough that 1 round grazed Petty Officer Chen's shoulder. The SEALs returned fire with suppressed rifles, the confined space amplifying every shot. In just 12 seconds, the engagement ended. All 5 enemy combatants were dead or incapacitated. The echoing gunfire alerted the rest of the crew. Americans were inside, and nowhere was safe. Each step deeper into the submarine increased the stakes. The operators had to maintain speed, control, and calm under fire, knowing the missile compartment and the nuclear threat was still ahead. There was no room for error. The pressure built with every hatch they cleared. At 0203, the SEALs reached the missile compartment. The hatch was locked from the inside, and Morrison keyed his radio. Control, actual. We have potential sabotage situation. Do not allow destruction of the weapon. Inside waited the Pukong-3 missile, a vertical cylinder 30 feet tall, nuclear warhead secured in its launch tube. Surrounding it were 6 North Korean sailors, 3 engineers, 3 officers. 1 officer's thumb hovered over a demolition detonator wired directly to the missile's fuel tank. 1 press could destroy the submarine, the weapon, and everyone aboard. Time froze. Morrison's rifle tracked the officer. Park covered another. Webb the rest. Chaos and adrenaline collided as Korean and English shouted through the confined space. Then Webb made a critical choice. He lowered his rifle and spoke in broken Korean. Don't. Your crew is alive. You kill us. You kill them. For 10 heart-pounding seconds, the officer hesitated. Then his thumb lifted. The detonator fell. The SEALs surged, securing the 6 sailors, disarming the explosive, and taking control of the compartment. In that moment, the mission teetered on the edge of total disaster, and survived. With the missile secured, the SEALs radioed their success. Missile compartment secured, weapon intact, submarine under control. Over the next 4 hours, U.S. Navy damage control teams boarded to assess propulsion damage and prepare the sub for towing. The 45 North Korean crew members were transferred to the USS Michael Mansour, placed in custody, and the nuclear weapon disarmed and guarded by EOD specialists. By 0645, as the sun rose over the Sea of Japan, the disabled submarine, now flying an American flag, was being towed toward international waters. P-8 aircraft and FA-18 fighters established a protective cordon, ensuring no interference. North Korea protested immediately, demanding the return of their vessel, but the U.S. government cited the nuclear threat and the crew's hostile actions in international waters. Operation Darkwater proved that even the most dangerous missions could succeed with training, courage, and split-second decision-making. 8 SEALs, a nuclear-armed submarine, and a hostile crew, all neutralized without catastrophe. The intelligence gained and lives saved cemented the operation as one of the most daring in modern naval history. If this breakdown gave you a new respect for the skill and bravery of SEAL teams, show it by hitting like, subscribing, and turning on notifications. Share your thoughts in the comments. Would you have boarded a nuclear submarine in hostile territory or chosen a different approach? Stay tactical, stay informed, and remember, sometimes the most dangerous operations are the ones the world never hears about.